The cold vastness of space stretched out before Captain Jack Porter as he stood alone at the main viewport of the diplomatic vessel Handshake. His weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass, lines of worry etched around his eyes. Beyond, his tiny ship floated the massive alien fleet, 10,000 warships that had appeared without warning 3 days ago. "They're moving again, Captain," said a calm female voice. Jack didn't turn as the ship's AI, Dot, projected her simple blue hologram beside him. She appeared as a sphere of light that pulsed gently when she spoke. "Same pattern?" he asked, his deep voice steady despite the fear churning in his stomach. "Yes. They're forming a blockade around Earth's orbital stations. No weapons fired yet." Jack nodded. The aliens, dubbed the Swarm by Earth's terrified news networks, had jumped into the solar system and positioned themselves in a perfect sphere around Earth. Their ships looked like massive insects made of dark metal with spines and sharp edges that seemed designed to inspire fear. "Any response to our messages?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. "None, Captain. They've ignored all 47 attempts at communication." Jack finally turned away from the window, walking across the bridge of the small diplomatic vessel. The Handshake wasn't a warship. It carried no weapons, only communication equipment and living quarters for a crew of 12, but right now Jack was alone except for Dot. "Show me the latest data from science team," he said, dropping into the captain's chair and rubbing his tired eyes. Dot's hologram floated to the main screen, where images of the alien ships appeared, alongside scanning data. "Earth Defense has been analyzing their technology for 72 hours now. The swarm ships use an unknown propulsion system, and their hulls contain materials not in our database." Jack leaned forward. "What about their biology? Have we figured out anything about the aliens themselves?" "Limited information," Dot replied. "Thermal scans suggest they're warm-blooded. Ship designs indicate they're likely smaller than humans based on corridor and doorway dimensions. And there's something interesting about their communication signals." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Interesting how?" "All 10,000 ships broadcast and receive on the exact same frequency with perfect synchronization. The pattern suggests a hive mind," Jack finished, a small spark of hope lighting in his chest. "They think as one. That's the leading theory," Dot confirmed. "Which means—" The ship suddenly shook, cutting Dot off. A harsh, grinding noise filled the bridge. "What was that?" Jack demanded, jumping to his feet. "We're being pulled toward the largest ship," Dot reported, her blue light flickering with increased activity. "Tractor beam technology. I can't break free." Jack's mind raced. After 3 days of silence, the aliens had finally made a move. Are they targeting other Earth ships? No, just us. They want to talk. Jack moved quickly to his personal locker near the captain's chair. He punched in his code and pulled out a small metal case. "They must have figured out this is a diplomatic vessel." "Captain," Dot's voice had a warning tone. "Earth Defense is ordering you to activate the self-destruct sequence if the aliens attempt to board. They're concerned about technology capture." Jack scoffed. "And lose our only chance at communication? Not happening." The ship shuddered again as it was pulled closer to the massive alien mothership. Through the viewport, Jack could see it clearly now, a behemoth that dwarfed even Earth's largest space stations. Its surface bristled with what looked like weapons, sensors, and strange organic-looking protrusions. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission, first contact from the swarm." Jack's heart hammered in his chest. "Put it through." The speakers crackled, and then a sound filled the bridge that made Jack's skin crawl. It wasn't a single voice, but thousands speaking in perfect unison, creating a chorus effect that sounded both mechanical and organic. "Human vessel, you will submit. Your species will be harvested." Jack exchanged a glance with Dot's hologram. "Friendly bunch," he muttered. Then, louder. "This is Captain Jack Porter of Earth's diplomatic vessel Handshake. We seek peaceful. Resistance is noted. Inefficient. Your military forces are scattered. Earth is defenseless." Jack clenched his jaw. They weren't wrong. Earth's main fleet was deployed to the outer colonies, days away at best. By the time help arrived, the planet could be reduced to ash. "I request a meeting with your leader," Jack said firmly. Face to face, we believe communication can prevent unnecessary conflict. There was silence for a long moment. The ship continued to be pulled toward the alien mothership, now close enough that Jack could see strange lights pulsing along its hull, like blood, moving through veins. Finally, the chorus of voices returned. One human alone, unarmed, you will be examined. The transmission cut off abruptly. Well, Jack said, picking up the metal case he'd retrieved earlier. That could have gone worse. Captain, Dot's voice was concerned. Earth Defense is ordering you to reject their terms. They believe it's a trap. Jack snorted. Of course it's a trap, but it's also our only shot. He opened the case, revealing what looked like a simple black bodysuit and helmet. Is science team ready with the package? Yes. But Captain, the odds of success are slim, I know. Jack closed the case again. But tell me, what are Earth's odds if I don't try? Dot was silent for a moment, her hologram dimming slightly. Based on current swarm positioning and weapons assessment, total planetary destruction within 24 hours. Jack nodded grimly. That's what I thought. Send a message to Earth Defense. Tell them I'm accepting the aliens' invitation, and I'm taking the package with me. The handshake shuddered as it was pulled into a massive docking bay inside the alien mothership. Through the viewport, Jack could see hundreds of the swarm moving about. They were indeed smaller than humans, with 6 limbs and bodies that resembled insects, though they walked upright on their back 2 legs. Their exoskeletons gleamed under the harsh lights of the hangar. They'll be boarding in approximately 2 minutes, Dot reported. Captain, Jack, there's something else you should know. Jack looked up from where he was checking the seals on his suitcase. What is it? The neurological disruptor in the package. Science team says it's never been tested on actual swarm biology. The effects could be unpredictable. Jack smiled wryly. Dot, when I signed up to be a diplomatic officer 20 years ago, predictable wasn't in the job description. He closed the case with a snap. Upload yourself to my suit systems. If this goes south, I want you with me. Already done, Dot replied, her hologram flickering out as her consciousness transferred to the suit's integrated systems. A heavy thud echoed through the ship as something attached to the outer airlock. Jack took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. In a few minutes he would be the first and possibly last human to meet the swarm face to face. 1 human against 10,000 aliens. Let's hope science team got the frequencies right, he muttered to himself as the airlock began to cycle, open. Otherwise, this will be the shortest diplomatic mission in history. The outer door slid open, revealing 3 swarm soldiers, their mandibles clicking in what might have been anticipation. Behind them stood thousands more, filling the hangar bay of the mothership. Jack Porter stepped forward, case in hand, to meet the enemy that threatened his world. Jack Porter walked between the alien guards, his back straight despite the fear that threatened to freeze his legs. The swarm soldiers were about a head shorter than him, but their 6 limbs and sharp mandibles made them look dangerous. Their bodies were covered in a dark, shiny exoskeleton that reminded Jack of beetle shells. Steady heart rate, Captain. Dot's voice whispered in his ear through the tiny communicator. Keep breathing normally. Jack gave a small nod, though he knew Dot could monitor his vital signs through the sensors hidden in his clothes. He clutched the metal case tightly as the guards led him deeper into the mothership. The corridors were strange. Unlike human ships with their straight lines and right angles, the swarm ship had rounded tunnels that pulsed with an eerie red light. The walls seemed almost alive, with small movements visible just beneath the surface. It's organic, Dot observed quietly. The ship appears to be partly grown rather than entirely built. Jack wanted to reply but kept silent among his escorts. The air was thick and humid with a sweet smell that made his head feel slightly dizzy. The further they walked, the more swarm aliens they passed. Some worked at strange consoles with limbs, moving too fast for Jack's eyes to follow. Others carried weapons or equipment. All of them turned to watch the human pass, their compound eyes reflecting his image hundreds of times over. After what felt like miles of walking, they reached a massive door that pulsed with stronger light than the corridors. One guard stepped, forward and pressed its limb against the surface. The door didn't slide open like on human ships. Instead, it seemed to part like living tissue, revealing a vast chamber beyond. "The command center," Dot whispered. "And there are a lot of them in there, Captain." Jack's breath caught in his throat as he stepped into the enormous room. It was shaped like a dome, with thousands of the swarm positioned throughout. Some stood on the floor, others clung to the walls and ceiling. All were connected by thin, glowing tendrils that linked their bodies together in a vast web of light. At the center of the room stood the largest alien Jack had ever seen. It was easily 3 times his height, with more limbs than the soldiers and a head that featured multiple sets of eyes and mandibles. Its exoskeleton had markings that glowed with the same red light as the ship. "Commander Krill," Dot identified in Jack's ear. At least that's what the translator is calling it. The actual sound is more like a clicking noise. As Jack approached, the massive alien turned all its eyes toward him. When it spoke, its voice was the same chorus of thousands that Jack had heard on the ship. "Human, you stand before the swarm." The voice boomed from all directions, as every alien in the room spoke in perfect unison. Jack fought to keep his expression calm. "I am Captain Jack Porter, representing Earth and all human colonies," he replied, his voice sounding small in the massive chamber. "Your species is primitive, divided, weak." The commander's upper limbs moved in a gesture that might have been dismissal. "You will serve the swarm or be eliminated." Jack set his case down carefully by his feet. "Before you make that decision, I'd like to understand why you've come to our system. Earth has no quarrel with your kind." A sound like thousands of insects clicking filled the room. Laughter, Jack realized with a chill. "The swarm does not explain. The swarm consumes. Your world has resources. Your people will serve or die." Jack noted how the glowing tendrils connecting the aliens pulsed stronger when the commander spoke, the hive mind working in real time. "Let me tell you about humans," Jack said, taking a careful step forward. Several guards moved toward him, but the commander raised a limb to stop them. "We may seem divided, but that's our strength. We think differently from each other. We find solutions where others see only problems." "Irrelevant. Your military forces are not here. Earth is defenseless." Jack smiled slightly. "That's where you're wrong. We don't always need warships to defend ourselves." He glanced around the room at the thousands of connected aliens. "I'd like to propose something." The commander's head tilted. "Speak." "A challenge," Jack said. "One human against your best warriors. If I win, you leave our system and never return. If I lose, I'll give you the access codes to bypass Earth's automated defenses. You can take the planet without losing a single soldier." The clicking laughter erupted again, louder this time. "One human against the swarm? You would be destroyed in seconds." "Then you have nothing to lose," Jack replied calmly. "And everything to gain. Those defense systems will cost you thousands of ships even if you win. I'm offering you a clean victory." The commander was silent for a moment. Jack could see the light tendrils pulsing rapidly as the hive mind considered his offer. "Your challenge is accepted," the chorus finally announced. "You will face 10,000 of our warriors. The battle will take place in the arena." Jack nodded, hiding his relief. "I'll need 1 hour to prepare and permission to wear my ceremonial battle suit. It's tradition among humans." "Granted. Your traditions are meaningless before your death." The commander gestured to the guards. "Take the human to the preparation chamber. In 1 hour the battle begins." As Jack was led away, he picked up his case carefully. Once they were in the corridor, Dot's voice returned in his ear. "That was extremely risky, Captain, and they've accepted your challenge." "They think it's a joke," Jack whispered, quiet enough that only the sensitive microphone in his earpiece could hear. "That's exactly what we needed." The preparation chamber was a small room with no furniture. The walls pulsed with the same living light as the rest of the ship. As soon as the guards left him alone, Jack opened his case. "We have 55 minutes, he said to Dot. "Talk to me about the hive mind." What did you observe in there? Dot's voice was clear in the empty room. The neural connections are even stronger than we thought. The tendrils aren't just for show. They're physical manifestations of their shared consciousness, and I was able to detect the frequency they're using. Jack removed the black bodysuit from the case. It looked simple, almost like regular clothing, but the material felt strange to the touch, partly solid, partly liquid. And will our disruptor work? Based on the readings I took? Yes. But Captain, there's something else. The commander, its neural signal is the strongest. It's not just part of the hive mind, it might be controlling it. Jack began to put on the suit, which molded itself to his body as soon as it made contact with his skin. So, if we target the commander specifically, the entire hive could collapse, Dot confirmed. But we'll only get one chance. The suit's power cells can generate a disruptive pulse for approximately 5 minutes before burning out. The helmet was last. Jack held it in his hands, looking at its smooth black surface. Inside was Earth's most advanced technology, tiny emitters that could generate a field specifically tuned to disrupt the swarm's neural network. 5 minutes to defeat 10,000 aliens, Jack said with a grim smile. I've faced worse odds. No, you haven't, Dot replied, a rare touch of humor in her artificial voice. Jack put on the helmet, which sealed seamlessly with the rest of the suit. The inside lit up with displays showing suit status, power levels, and a countdown timer. Run final diagnostics, Jack ordered, and send a message to Earth Defense. Tell them the swarm took the bait. As the suit's systems came online, Jack took deep breaths to calm his racing heart. In less than an hour, he would face an army of aliens in combat. The fate of Earth rested on whether science team's theories about the swarm's hive mind were correct. Diagnostics complete, Dot announced. Disruptor is functioning at optimal levels. The neural frequency is locked in. Jack flexed his hands, feeling the suit respond to his movements. Then I guess there's nothing left to do but wait. Captain, Dot said quietly. If this doesn't work. It will work, Jack interrupted. It has to. Outside the chamber he could hear movement. Thousands of aliens preparing for what they thought would be an easy slaughter. They had no idea what was coming. Jack Porter, a single human, was about to face 10,000 aliens in battle, and he was smiling. The door to Jack's preparation chamber slid open with a wet, organic sound. 4 swarm guards entered, their mandibles clicking rapidly as they surrounded him. Time has expired, human, they spoke in unison. The battle awaits. Jack stood tall, in his black suit, helmet tucked under his arm. To the aliens, it looked like simple clothing, nothing that could possibly pose a threat. Their scanners had detected only basic materials and minor electronic components, which they had dismissed as primitive human technology. I'm ready, Jack said calmly. The guards led him through a new set of corridors, these wider and taller than before. They sloped downward, deep into the heart of the mothership. Other aliens lined the passage, all watching with their compound eyes as the lone human walked to what they assumed would be his death. Captain, Dot's voice whispered in his ear. I'm detecting a massive space ahead. Based on the ship's layout, it appears to be some kind of arena or ceremonial chamber. Jack gave a small nod. The deeper they went, the more his ears picked up. A strange sound like the buzzing of countless insects growing louder with each step. The entire swarm is watching this, aren't they? He whispered. Not just those on this ship, Dot replied. I'm detecting broadcasts to all 10,000 vessels. They're streaming this as entertainment. Jack's mouth tightened. Good. Let them. I'll see what happens. The corridor finally opened into a vast circular space that took Jack's breath away. It was enormous, at least 500 meters across, with walls that rose so high the ceiling was lost in shadows. The walls were lined with tier after tier of swarm aliens, packed together so tightly they looked like a single living mass. The floor of the arena was bare metal, marked with strange symbols. At the center stood Commander Krill, even more imposing than before. Around the commander in perfect formation stood thousands of swarm warriors, each armed with weapons that looked like a cross between spears and energy rifles. The buzzing sound was deafening now, the combined noise of thousands of aliens all communicating at once through their hive mind. "Remember, Captain," Dot said as they approached, "the suit can only generate the disruptive field for 5 minutes before the power cells burn out." "I'll make it count," Jack promised quietly. The guards brought him to stand before Commander Krill. The massive alien looked down at Jack with all its eyes blinking in different patterns. "The human comes to die," the commander announced, voice echoing through the arena as all aliens spoke at once. The crowd's buzzing intensified. "Actually," Jack replied, putting on his helmet with deliberate slowness, "I came to win." The helmet sealed with a soft hiss, and Jack's display lit up with information. Power levels, target lock systems, and most importantly, a timer ready to count down from 5 minutes. "Your confidence is amusing," the commander said. "The rules are simple. You will face our warriors. When you die, your planet belongs to the swarm." Jack looked around at the thousands of warriors surrounding him. Each one had 6 limbs that ended in either claws or was holding weapons. Their exoskeletons gleamed under the arena's harsh lights, and the neural tendrils connecting them pulsed with energy. "And when I win," Jack said, voice slightly mechanical through his helmet, "you leave our system and never return." The clicking laughter erupted from all around the arena. "Agreed. Let the battle begin." Commander Krill stepped back and a circle of warriors moved forward, weapons raised. Jack counted at least 100 in the first wave alone. "Dot," Jack whispered. "Run final systems check." "All systems green," Dot replied. "Disruptor frequency is locked on their neural patterns. Ready on your command." Jack took a deep breath and raised his hand, finger hovering over a small control panel on his wrist. The warriors were 20 meters away now, closing in quickly. 15 meters. Dot counted down. 10 meters. The lead warriors raised their weapons. Energy began to glow at the tips of their spears. 5 meters. "Now," Jack said, and pressed the control. For a split second, nothing happened. Then a wave of invisible energy pulsed out from Jack's suit. It was completely silent with no visible effect, but the results were immediate and dramatic. The charging warriors stumbled as one. Their coordinated movements fell apart. Some dropped their weapons, others grabbed at their heads, mandibles clicking rapidly in what could only be distress. "It's working." Dot's voice was triumphant in Jack's ear. "The disruptor is interfering with their neural network." Jack stood perfectly still as the first wave of warriors collapsed around him. None had managed to get within striking distance. The buzzing from the audience changed tone, becoming erratic and confused. Commander Krill stepped forward, mandibles spread wide in what looked like anger or surprise. "What is this?" The chorus of voices was no longer in perfect unison. Some spoke faster than others, creating an eerie, broken sound. "What have you done?" Jack turned to face the commander. "I studied your greatest strength, your hive mind, and found its weakness." He started walking forward, stepping over fallen warriors who twitched on the ground. "You think as one, which makes you powerful when coordinated but vulnerable to the right frequency." The commander raised a limb, signaling to the thousands of remaining warriors. "Kill him!" The warriors surged forward, but they moved awkwardly. Now, their perfect coordination breaking down as the disruptive field grew stronger. Jack continued walking calmly toward the commander, the fallen bodies of swarm warriors creating a path before him. On his helmet display, the timer counted down. 4:15, 4:14, 4:13. "Captain," Dot reported, "the neural disruption is spreading throughout the arena. Warrior efficiency is down to 40% and falling. More and more aliens dropped their weapons or fell to the ground. Some began to fight each other, confused about who was the enemy. The once organized army was dissolving into chaos." Jack kept his eyes on Commander Krill. "Dot, can you target the disruption more specifically at the commander? It seems to be the central node of the hive." "Mind? Adjusting frequency now," Dot replied. The suit hummed slightly as it redirected its energy. Commander Krill suddenly staggered, its massive body shaking. The glowing tendrils connecting it to the other aliens flickered and dimmed. "No." The commander's voice was now alone. The chorus, Effect completely gone. What is this weapon? Not a weapon, Jack replied, now standing directly before the alien leader. A disruption field, tuned exactly to the frequency of your neural network. It won't kill you. It just disconnects you. All around the arena, thousands of swarm warriors were now down, their limbs twitching uncontrollably. The few still standing moved like drunk people, bumping into each other and dropping their weapons. Impossible, the commander growled, trying to strike at Jack with one massive limb. The blow was slow and uncoordinated, and Jack easily sidestepped it. One human cannot defeat the swarm. I'm not defeating you with strength, Jack said. I'm defeating you with science. The same way humans have survived every threat we've ever faced. We adapt. We observe. We find the solution that works. Timer, 3:05, 3:04, 3:03. The commander fell to its knees, body shaking with spasms as the neural disruption intensified. Jack stood over the fallen leader, watching as the once mighty alien tried to reconnect with its hive mind. Your invasion is over, Jack said firmly. In a few hours, the effects will wear off. When you recover, you'll find Earth's terms for peace in your ship's computers. I suggest you accept them. The swarm does not surrender. The commander's voice was weak now, barely audible. You don't have a choice, Jack replied. Look around you. 10,000 warriors defeated in minutes by a single human with the right technology. The buzzing in the arena had fallen almost silent. Across the entire space, swarm aliens lay incapacitated or moved in confused, uncoordinated patterns. The battle that was supposed to be the end of humanity had instead become a demonstration of its ingenuity. Jack looked at his timer. 2:47, 2:46, 2:45. Dot, he said quietly. Contact the handshake. Tell them to prepare for extraction, and send word to Earth Defense. The swarm has been neutralized. Already done, Captain, Dot replied. Earth is safe. Jack Porter stood in the HFY, center of the alien arena, surrounded by thousands of fallen warriors. The battle was over, and it had taken less than 3 minutes. One human had faced 10,000 aliens. And won. Jack stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by thousands of incapacitated swarm warriors. His suit's timer continued its countdown. 2:30, 2:29, 2:28. The neural disruptor would keep working for another 2.5 minutes before the power cells were completely drained. Captain, Dot's voice came through his helmet. I'm detecting movement at the arena entrance. Jack turned to see more swarm aliens appearing at the main doorway. Unlike the warriors, these were smaller and lacked weapons. They wore different markings on their exoskeletons. Scientists or medics, Jack guessed. They're not affected by the disruptor, Jack noted, watching as the new arrivals moved with purpose, checking on fallen warriors. Different neural frequency, Dot explained. These must be from a separate caste within the swarm. They appear to operate on a different mental network. The newcomers froze when they spotted Jack standing tall amid the chaos. One stepped forward cautiously. Unlike the warriors and commander, it spoke with a single voice. Human. What have you done to them? Its voice was higher pitched, almost musical compared to the harsh chorus of the warriors. Jack gestured to the fallen commander. I've temporarily disrupted their neural network. They'll recover in a few hours. The alien's compound eyes blinked rapidly. Impossible. No species has ever broken the warrior link. Well, now one has. Jack took a careful step toward the alien. Who are you? I am Trill, lead thinker for the swarm. The alien's front limbs moved in a complex pattern. We operate separately from the warrior collective. This was unexpected information. Jack glanced at his timer. 2:10 remaining. Dot, are you recording this? He whispered. Every word, Captain, she confirmed. This explains why our intel was incomplete. The swarm has at least 2 distinct social groups with different neural patterns. Jack addressed Trill again. Your warriors attacked our system without provocation. They threatened to destroy our planet. Trill made a strange clicking sound. The warrior collective consumes. It knows nothing else. For 10,000 cycles, They have found new worlds, new resources, new species to absorb. And the thinkers? What do? We study, we learn. Trill moved closer, examining Jack's suit with obvious curiosity. Your technology is fascinating. A neural disruptor tuned precisely to the warrior frequency. We never considered such a defense possible. Jack's mind was racing. This changed everything about how Earth understood the swarm. Are you saying the warriors and thinkers have different goals? We share a purpose but different methods, Trill explained. The warriors expand. We preserve knowledge. It has been our way since the beginning. Around them, more thinkers had entered the arena, moving among the fallen warriors, checking their condition. None showed any fear of Jack. Captain, Dot whispered. This could be an opportunity for a more permanent solution than just military defeat. Jack nodded slightly. Trill, when your warriors recover, what will they do? The aliens' movements became agitated. They will attack again. The warrior collective knows only conquest. When they recover from your disruptor, they will be even more determined to destroy your world. Unless something changes in your leadership structure, Jack suggested carefully. Trill's compound eyes focused intently on Jack. Explain. Jack looked at his timer. 1:45 remaining. In human history, when a leader is defeated in battle, sometimes a new leader takes their place, one with different ideas. The alien was silent for a long moment. Then, you suggest the thinkers should control the warriors. I'm suggesting that peace might be more beneficial to both our species than war. Trill turned to confer with several other thinkers who had gathered nearby. They made rapid clicking sounds that Jack couldn't understand. Captain, Dot reported, I'm detecting signals from the mothership's communication array. The thinkers appear to be contacting the other ships in the fleet. Jack remained still, watching the aliens discuss. His gamble was risky. He had no idea if the thinkers would be better or worse than the warriors. But faced with 10,000 ships capable of destroying Earth, he needed to try something. Finally, Trill turned back to Jack. For many cycles, the thinkers have questioned the wisdom of endless conquest. Resources become scarce. New enemies emerge. The swarm grows too large to sustain itself. The alien's voice became stronger. Your defeat of the warrior collective provides an opportunity. What kind of opportunity? Jack asked. A new direction. One where the swarm seeks knowledge and cooperation rather than only consumption. Trill gestured to the fallen commander. When Krill awakens, it will find the command structure changed. Jack's timer read 1:20. And what about Earth? My planet? We propose an exchange, Trill said. Knowledge for knowledge. Technology for technology. The thinkers have accumulated wisdom from 1,000 worlds. We would share this with humans in exchange for peace, and for the technology you use today. Jack hesitated. Sharing the neural disruptor tech was far beyond his authority, but the alternative was continuing the conflict once the warriors recovered. I can't make that decision alone, Jack said carefully. I'm just a diplomatic officer. But I can bring your proposal to Earth's leadership. Trill made a gesture that might have been agreement. The warriors will remain incapacitated for several of your hours. Time enough for discussions to begin. A sudden alarm beeped in Jack's helmet. His timer flashed red. 0:45 seconds remaining. Captain, Dot warned. Power cells are reaching critical levels. The disruptor field will collapse soon. Jack knew he needed to act quickly. Trill, I need to return to my ship now. When the disruptor fails, the warriors nearest to me will recover first. We will escort you, Trill signaled to several other thinkers. The future of both our species may depend on this new understanding. As they moved toward the exit, Jack looked back at the thousands of fallen warriors and their commander. The battle had been won, but the real challenge, establishing peace between humans and the swarm, was just beginning. Jack's timer continued, its countdown as they hurried through the corridors. 0:30, 0:29, 0:28. Dot, contact the handshake, Tell them to prepare for immediate departure once I'm aboard, and send a message to Earth Defense. We may have just found allies among our enemies. Message sent. Confirmed. Captain, Earth Defense is requesting a full report on what just happened. Jack smiled grimly as they reached a transport pod that would take them to the docking bay. Tell them I'll explain everything once we're safely away, and tell them to prepare for visitors. I think the Thinkers will want to begin negotiations immediately. The pod doors closed, and they shot through the mothership toward the docking bay where the handshake waited. Jack's timer reached 0 just as they arrived, and he felt the subtle change as his suit's disruptor field collapsed. Power cells depleted, announced. The disruptor is offline. Jack removed his helmet, taking a deep breath of the ship's air. It did its job. It bought us the time we needed. Trill and 2 other Thinkers followed Jack to the airlock of the handshake. Human Captain Jack Porter, Trill said formally. The Thinkers look forward to a new relationship with Earth. Jack nodded. So do I, Trill. So do I. As the airlock closed behind him, Jack felt the weight of the day's events finally hit him. One human had faced 10,000 aliens in battle, and won. But more importantly, he might have just changed the course of history for both species. He said, entering the bridge of his small ship. Set course for Earth, we have a lot to explain. Course set, Captain. Dot's hologram appeared beside him, her blue light pulsing calmly. And may I say, that was the most impressive diplomatic mission I've ever recorded. Jack laughed as he dropped into the captain's chair. Diplomacy through superior technology. Not exactly what they taught us at the academy. As the handshake pulled away from the mothership, Jack could see the massive swarm fleet stretching out across space. 10,000 ships that had come to conquer, now frozen in uncertainty as the balance of power shifted. The battle was over. Now the true test would begin. 3 days after the battle, Jack Porter stood at the window of Earth's largest space station, watching as the swarm mothership approached. Unlike before, this time the massive ship came in peace, escorted by Earth defense vessels that looked tiny beside it. Nervous, Captain? General Adams asked, joining Jack at the window. The older man's uniform was decorated with medals from decades of military service. A little, Jack admitted. It's not every day you invite the aliens who nearly destroyed your planet to a peace conference. The general nodded, his weathered face serious. Your gamble was either the bravest or the craziest thing I've ever seen. 1 man against 10,000 aliens. It wasn't about bravery, Jack said. It was about finding the right solution. Science. Team deserves the credit for the neural disruptor technology. Maybe, Adams conceded, but you're the one who went in there alone. The recordings from your suit have been viewed by billions across Earth and the colonies. You're a hero, Porter. Jack shook his head. I'm a diplomatic officer who did his job. A soft chime interrupted their conversation. General Adams, Captain Porter, announced the station's AI. The swarm delegation has docked. They're ready to begin the meeting. The 2 men turned from the window and walked through the station's wide corridors toward the main conference room. Station personnel stopped to stare as Jack passed. Many nodded respectfully or saluted, even though he wasn't military. The Thinkers explained why they let the warriors attack us in the first place, Adams asked as they walked. According to Trill, the swarm has operated the same way for thousands of years, Jack explained. The warriors conquer. The Thinkers study. They've been on separate neural networks for so long that they rarely questioned the arrangement. Our disruptor changed everything by proving the warriors could be defeated. And we trust them because... Jack smiled slightly. We don't. Not completely. That's why Earth Defense has 20 warships surrounding their mothership, and why the neural disruptor technology has been installed throughout this station. They reached the conference room doors, which slid open to reveal a large circular table. Around it sat the most powerful leaders from Earth and its colonies, the president, military commanders, and scientific experts. And on the other side, 6 swarm thinkers, including Trill. Jack's eyes widened when he saw who sat in the center of the alien delegation. Commander Krill. The massive warrior looked different now. The glowing tendrils that had once connected it to the hive mind were gone. Its eyes focused on Jack with clear recognition. "Captain Porter," the commander spoke in a single voice, not the chorus from before. "We meet again under different circumstances." Jack and General Adams took their seats at the table. The room fell silent, all eyes on the human who had defeated the swarm. President Chen opened the meeting. 3 days ago, Earth faced extinction at the hands of the swarm fleet. Today we sit at the same table to discuss peace. This unprecedented turn of events is due largely to the actions of Captain Jack Porter. Jack nodded in acknowledgement, but kept his eyes on Commander Krill. The alien leader seemed changed, more focused, more individual. Trill spoke next. "For countless cycles, the swarm has expanded through conquest. The warriors led, the thinkers followed. Your neural disruptor technology did more than temporarily disable our warriors. It created an opportunity for change." "What kind of change?" General Adams asked skeptically. Commander Krill answered, surprising everyone. "I was the center of the warrior collective. All thoughts, all commands flowed through me to the others. When your disruptor broke that connection, something unexpected happened. The alien's mandibles moved in what might have been discomfort. For the first time I experienced individual thought." Jack leaned forward. "You're no longer connected to the hive mind? The connection has been modified," Krill explained. "The warriors are still linked, but not as a single consciousness. We now operate as individuals within a network, similar to your human military structure." President Chen looked surprised. "And this change is permanent?" Trill answered. "With help from your scientists, yes. We have reconfigured the neural frequencies to maintain coordination without sacrificing individual thought. The warrior collective now thinks both as one and as many." Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. "And the warriors agreed to this?" "Not all," Commander Krill admitted. "Some ships have left the fleet seeking to maintain the old ways, but most have accepted the new arrangement. Your victory was convincing." The meeting continued for hours as both sides discussed terms for peace. The swarm would withdraw from Earth's system but establish an embassy on the outer moon of Jupiter. Trade would begin cautiously, with knowledge and technology exchanged under strict supervision. As the formal agreements were drafted, Jack found himself standing with Trill and Commander Krill near the refreshment table. "There's something I don't understand," Jack said to Krill. "Why did you accept this change? You were the leader of the most powerful force in this part of the galaxy." The alien was silent for a moment. "When the neural connection broke, I experienced something new. Clarity. For thousands of years, the warrior collective consumed without questioning. World after world, species after species. But to what end?" Krill's massive head tilted. "Your defeat of us using intelligence rather than force showed a different path." Trill added, "The thinkers have long believed that knowledge is more valuable than conquest. Now perhaps the warriors are beginning to see the same truth." Jack wasn't entirely convinced. "And Earth can trust this change of heart?" "Trust must be earned," Krill acknowledged. "But consider this. If we wished to destroy your world, we could have brought more ships. The 10,000 you faced were merely the first wave." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "How many more?" "Enough to darken the skies of 100 worlds," Trill said quietly. "But that future is no longer certain. You have given us a new path to consider." The meeting concluded with the formal signing of the Jupiter Accords, establishing peace between humans and the swarm. As the delegates prepared to depart, Commander Krill approached Jack one last time. "Captain Porter," the alien said, "humans have a saying we discovered in our research. Sometimes the greatest battles are won without fighting. I did not understand this before." Jack nodded. "And now?" "Now I understand that true strength can lie in finding alternatives to conflict." The commander extended one massive limb in what appeared to be a gesture of respect. "Your species is young, but remarkably adaptable. The galaxy will be watching what happens next." Jack carefully shook the offered limb, aware of the historic moment. "So will we." As the swarm delegation departed, Jack returned to the window to watch their mothership pull away from the station. General Adams joined him again. "Do you think it will last?" the general asked. "This peace?" Jack considered the question seriously. "I don't know. But we've bought time. Time to prepare, time to learn from each other. And we've shown the galaxy something important." "What's that?" "That humans shouldn't be underestimated." Jack smiled slightly. "One human faced 10,000 aliens and the battle was over in minutes. Not because of superior strength or numbers, but because we found the right solution." The general nodded thoughtfully. "Science and diplomacy instead of just firepower. Not the usual way wars end." "Maybe it's time for a new usual," Jack suggested. As Earth's sun rose over the curve of the planet below, both men watched the swarm mothership move away toward Jupiter, where the new embassy would be established. A new chapter was beginning for both species. The battle was over. The real work was just beginning. And Captain Jack Porter, the human who had faced 10,000 aliens alone, was ready for whatever came next. The massive alien ship hung in the blue sky above New York City like a silver cloud. People stood in streets, on rooftops, and leaned out of windows, their necks craned upward. Some pointed, some prayed, but most just stared with open mouths. Captain Joe Miller watched from the roof of the United Nations building. His hand rested on his gun, though he knew it would be useless if the aliens turned hostile. 6 months of radio contact had led to this moment, and despite the friendly messages exchanged, Joe didn't trust these visitors from another world. "Steady, Captain," said Admiral Pat Stone, standing beside him. The older man's face showed no emotion, but his eyes never left the alien craft. "Remember, we're diplomats today, not soldiers." Joe nodded but didn't move his hand from his weapon. 20 years in Earth's defense fleet had taught him to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The ship's bottom split open, and a beam of white light touched down on the landing pad. Through the light came 5 tall figures. They had blue skin that shimmered in the sunlight, 4 arms and large heads with 4 eyes spaced evenly around. They wore simple white clothing with no visible weapons. The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Trell of the Stellar Union," he said in perfect English, his voice coming through a small device on his chest. "We come in peace and friendship to Earth." World leaders stepped forward for the formal greetings. Joe stayed back, watching every move the aliens made. Something about their 2 perfect smiles made his skin crawl. The ceremony was going exactly as planned until a small orange cat wandered onto the landing pad. It must have slipped past security, drawn by curiosity or the warmth of the alien ship's lights. Joe moved to grab the animal before it caused an incident, but stopped when he saw the alien's reaction. All 5 visitors froze. Their 4 eyes widened and the small breathing holes on their necks flared open. "What is this creature?" Ambassador Trell asked, dropping to one knee to look at the cat. "Just a stray cat," said the President of the United States, looking confused. "I apologize for the interruption." "Cat?" Trell repeated the word slowly. "May I touch it?" The President nodded, looking at Joe with raised eyebrows. Joe shrugged. This wasn't in any of their first contact protocols. Trell reached out slowly with one of his 4 blue hands. The cat sniffed his long fingers, then rubbed its head against them. A sound that might have been a laugh came from Trell's. Breathing holes. "It vibrates," he said with delight when the cat began to purr. The other aliens gathered around, all thoughts of diplomatic ceremony forgotten as they marveled at the ordinary cat. "You find this animal interesting?" asked the President. "On our world," Trell explained, still petting the cat, "we have few animal species. Most are simple creatures, nothing like this complex, friendly being. Does Earth have many such animals?" The President smiled. "Thousands of species, cats, dogs, birds, fish. We must see them." Another alien interrupted, then quickly lowered his eyes. "If that would be acceptable." Joe watched as the world leaders exchanged glances. This wasn't the technological exchange they had expected, but perhaps it was a start. 3 days later, Joe stood in the Central Park Zoo, watching as Ambassador Trell and his team moved from exhibit to exhibit like excited children. They took pictures and videos of everything from lions to penguins, asking endless questions about each animal. "They really love our animals," said Dr. Linda West, the zoologist assigned to guide the aliens. "I've never seen anyone so excited about an ordinary squirrel." "It's strange," Joe said. "They have technology that can cross light years of space, but they act like they've never seen a monkey before." According to Trell, their home planet had a mass extinction event thousands of years ago. Most animal life died out. The few species that survived are simple, like our insects or worms. Joe nodded but kept watching. Something felt off. Yes, the aliens were clearly fascinated by Earth's wildlife, but he had caught Trell twice now, using a device to scan the zoo's security systems when he thought no one was looking. As the day ended, Trell approached the human delegation. "We wish to propose a cultural exchange," he said. "We would like to bring some Earth animals to show our people. In return, we offer technology that will help Earth join the galactic community." The politicians jumped at the chance. Within weeks, plans were made to send samples of Earth wildlife to Stellar Union worlds. In return, the aliens offered medical technology that could cure several human diseases and engines that could make travel to Mars a matter of days, instead of months. Joe's concerns were ignored by his superiors. "This is the opportunity of a lifetime," Admiral Stone told him during a private meeting at Defense Fleet headquarters. "Think of what we can learn from them." "I am thinking," Joe said. "I'm thinking about why a spacefaring civilization cares so much about our cats and dogs." Admiral Stone sighed. "The President wants this exchange. Your job is to make sure it happens safely." "Yes, sir," Joe said, knowing when to stop arguing. 6 months later, Joe stood in a special facility built just outside Washington, D.C., watching as aliens carefully loaded cages containing pairs of dogs, cats, rabbits, and birds onto their transport ships. Each animal had been checked by vets and tagged with tracking devices. "They're treating those animals better than most humans do," said Tom Green, one of Joe's team members. "That's what worries me," Joe replied quietly. The alien interest in Earth had only grown. Now they had tourism programs bringing wealthy aliens to Earth's wildlife parks. They paid well, boosting Earth's economy and bringing jobs to areas that needed them. Most humans were happy with the arrangement. Joe wasn't. That night, he used his security clearance to enter Ambassador Trell's temporary office at the United Nations. He had 20 minutes before the security patrol would return. It took him 15 minutes to crack Trell's computer system. What he found confirmed his worst fears. Hidden beneath files about Earth's animals were detailed reports about Earth's military capabilities, satellite systems, and defense grids. Maps showed Earth's strategic resources and key infrastructure. Joe downloaded everything to a secure drive, then carefully erased all signs of his presence. As he slipped out of the building, his mind raced. These weren't the notes of friendly visitors. They were military intelligence reports. Later that night, Joe sat in Admiral Stone's home office, watching the older man's face darken as he reviewed the files. "This proves nothing," Stone said finally. "Of course they'd study our military. We're studying theirs too." "Sir, with respect, they're planning something. The animals are just a distraction." Stone didn't answer right away. He stared at the maps on his screen, showing Earth's defensive weak points highlighted in red. "I'll take this to the President," he said finally, "but keep quiet about this. If you're wrong, you'll destroy the best thing that's happened to Earth in centuries." Joe nodded, but as he left Stone's house, he couldn't shake the feeling that by the time Earth's leaders accepted the truth, it might be too late. The aliens hadn't come for Earth's animals, they had come for Earth itself. In his spaceship orbiting Earth, Ambassador Trell finished his latest report to the Stellar Union High Command. Yes, Earth's animals were fascinating, but its real value was strategic. A perfect location near 3 major wormhole junctions that would give the Union control over trade routes worth trillions. "Soon," he whispered, looking down at the blue planet. "Soon." 2 years passed since the aliens first arrived. The relationship between Earth and the Stellar Union had changed. What started as friendly meetings was now tense and uncomfortable. Colonel Joe Miller, recently promoted from captain, stood at the window of his office in the Mars Defense Base. The Red Planet had been Earth's first major colony, with 30,000 people living under its huge domes. Now it felt like a military camp. Through his window, Joe could see 3 Stellar Union ships hovering above the Martian surface. They claimed to be research vessels, but Joe knew better. They were warships. "Colonel Admiral Stone is on the line," his assistant called. Joe walked to his desk and turned on the secure video link. Admiral Stone's face appeared on the screen. The older man looked tired, with new lines around his eyes. "Status report?" Stone asked without greeting. 3 more Union ships arrived yesterday," Joe said. "That makes 7 in Mars orbit. They're positioning for something." Stone nodded. "Same story at the moon colony. The president is starting to listen to our concerns, but it might be too late." "What happened?" Joe asked. "There was a fight in the asteroid belt. The Union claims our mining ships crossed into their territory. Our miners say the Union ships attacked without warning." Joe's stomach tightened. "Casualties?" 2 dead. 12 injured. The mining ship was destroyed. Joe swore quietly. "They're pushing us toward war, Admiral." "I know. But we need proof of their intentions. Real proof, not just suspicious ship movements." After the call ended, Joe stared at the map on his wall. Red dots showed Stellar Union positions near Earth, Mars, and the Moon. The dots had been multiplying for months, forming what military strategists called a containment pattern. The aliens were positioning themselves to cut Earth off from its colonies. Yet officially, relations between humans and aliens remained friendly. Trade continued. Cultural exchanges happened weekly. Millions of tourists from the Stellar Union visited Earth's nature parks and zoos. But the gifts of technology had slowed, and the aliens now asked more questions about Earth's resources than its animals. On the Stellar Union flagship orbiting Jupiter, Ambassador Trell stood nervously before General Cross. The general was from the military branch of the Union, tall even for their species, with dark blue skin scarred from old battles. "Your progress is too slow," Cross said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of annoyance. "The humans are becoming suspicious," Trell replied. "They've increased security. My access to their systems is limited now." Cross waved one of his forearms dismissively. "It doesn't matter. We have enough information about their defenses." "What about the agreement?" Trell asked. "The High Command promised a peaceful integration of Earth into the Union." Cross laughed, a hissing sound. "These humans refuse to accept their proper place. The other 9 species we've incorporated all understood they must serve the Union. Humans demand to be equals." He spat the last word like it tasted bad. "They are an interesting species," Trell argued. "Their relationship with their animals alone shows unique qualities, and some of these animals show remarkable—" "I'm not interested in their furry pets," Cross interrupted. "I care about the fact that Earth sits at the junction of 3 major wormhole routes. Control Earth, control commerce across this sector of the galaxy." "What are your orders?" Trell asked, knowing argument was useless. "Continue as before. Act friendly. Study their animals if you must, but prepare your staff for war." Cross turned to the star map glowing on the wall. "The Union fleet will be in position within 3 months. Then we'll show these humans their true place in the galaxy." Back on Earth, Professor Alex Reed worked late in his laboratory at Boston University. The xenobiologist had spent 2 years studying samples of Stellar Union biology. The aliens had freely provided tissue samples and medical data as part of the scientific exchange. Alex looked through his microscope at the alien cell structure again. Something had been bothering him about their nervous system, something he couldn't quite place. "Running audio test number 47, he said to his computer. The machine played a series of sounds while Alex watched the reaction of alien tissue samples under the microscope. Nothing happened until the sound reached a very high frequency, 28,000 hertz. Suddenly, the alien cells stopped all activity. Alex sat back, surprised. He ran the test again. Same result. Computer, what on earth makes sounds at that frequency naturally? Several Earth animals produce sounds in that frequency. Range, including certain bats, dolphins, and specialized devices used for training dogs. Alex thought for a moment, then picked up his phone. Colonel Miller, this is Professor Reed. I found something you need to see. It's about the aliens. Yes, it might be important for defense. I'll be on the next shuttle to Mars. 1 week later, Joe sat in a secure room with Admiral Stone, Professor Reed, and 5 other high-ranking military officers. They had just watched Reed's presentation about alien biology. So you're saying that sounds at this frequency basically stun them? Admiral Stone asked. Temporarily, Alex clarified. Their nervous system shuts down for about 30 seconds, then slowly restarts. It's like hitting their reset button. And this affects all of them? Joe asked. Based on the tissue samples I've studied from different Union species, yes. They all share this vulnerability. It must be from evolving on their home planet, which has a different atmosphere than Earth. Admiral Stone looked thoughtful. How could we use this? Before anyone could answer, an alarm blared through the base. Joe ran to the communication console on the wall. Report, he ordered. Sir, Stellar Union ships are firing on the moon colony, came the panicked voice of the communications officer. They're saying our ships violated their space, but it's not true. It's an attack. Joe looked at Admiral Stone, whose face had gone hard. It's starting, Stone said simply. They've decided to move. Over the next 3 hours, reports came in from across the solar system. Stellar Union ships were attacking Earth vessels and colonies everywhere. Their diplomats on Earth claimed it was all because of human aggression, but the pattern was clear. In the conference room, the mood was grim. Earth's space fleet was outnumbered and outgunned by the Stellar Union forces. We can't match them ship for ship, Joe said, looking at the tactical displays. Then we don't fight them that way, Admiral Stone replied. He turned to Professor Reed. Your discovery about their sensitivity to sound, can we weaponize it? Reed nodded slowly. Yes, but delivery would be the problem. We'd need to get sound generators close to their ships and bases. Joe thought about the 2 years of watching aliens coup over Earth's animals. An idea began to form. What if, he said slowly, we use the very thing they came here for against them? The animals? Stone asked, looking confused. The aliens have been collecting our animals for years. They have them on their ships and their bases. What if we use that? Professor Reed's eyes widened. You mean train the animals to carry sound devices? It could work. The aliens wouldn't suspect pets or wildlife. They still see them as simple, cute creatures. Admiral Stone looked at the star map, where red dots showed Union ships moving toward Earth. Develop the plan, he ordered. We'll need every advantage we can get. He looked at Joe. Because whether we're ready or not, we're at war. As if to confirm his words, the building shook as Stellar Union ships began bombing the Mars colony from orbit. 3 days after Ambassador Trell's message, a historic meeting took place on a neutral space station orbiting Earth. Colonel Joe Miller and Admiral Stone represented Earth's military. Professor Alex Reed joined as a scientific advisor. They sat on one side of a long table. On the other side sat Ambassador Trell and 3 other Stellar Union representatives. General Cross was noticeably absent. Where is the general? Admiral Stone asked as the meeting began. General Cross has been relieved of his command, Trell said carefully. The High Command was not pleased with his handling of the Earth campaign. Joe leaned forward. You mean they didn't like that he lost? Trell's 4 eyes blinked slowly. The Stellar Union does not lose wars, Colonel Miller. But in this case, we are willing to acknowledge that continuing the conflict would not be beneficial for either side. Admiral Stone placed a data pad on the table. These are our terms. The Stellar Union will remove all military forces from Earth and our colonies. You will pay compensation for the damage done to Mars and the Moon. And you will recognize Earth as a fully independent territory, not subject to Union control. Trell and the other aliens examined the terms. After a quick discussion in their own language, Trell nodded. These terms are acceptable. With one addition from our side, he said. We request permission to continue scientific and cultural exchanges, particularly regarding Earth's animals. Joe laughed without humor. You still want to study our animals? After you tried to kill them all? That was General Cross's order, not the policy of the Union leadership, Trell replied. Many of us opposed it. Your world's biodiversity is unique. In all our explorations, we still have much to learn from it. Professor Reed, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. You mean you want to learn how to defend against our animal tactics if there's another war? Trell's breathing holes flared slightly, a sign of discomfort. I cannot deny that our military will study your methods, but my interest, and that of our scientific community, is genuine. Your relationship with your animals is unlike anything we've seen in the galaxy. Admiral Stone looked at Joe and Alex, silently asking their opinion. Controlled exchanges only, Joe said firmly. With full monitoring, and no animals leave Earth without our approval. Alex nodded in agreement. One more condition, Admiral Stone added. Full disclosure about the wormhole junctions near Earth. We know that's why you really came here. Trell seemed surprised but recovered quickly. Agreed. We will share all navigational data and grant Earthships passage rights. The peace treaty was signed the following day. After 2 months of bloody war, peace had returned, thanks largely to Earth's animals. 1 year later, Colonel Joe Miller, now General Miller, stood in the rebuilt Central Park Zoo. Beside him stood Ambassador Trell, who had remained on Earth as the Stellar Union's permanent envoy. They watched as a group of alien scientists carefully observed a dolphin show. The dolphins were demonstrating their intelligence by solving complex puzzles. They still can't believe how smart they are, Joe commented. On our homeworld, animals are simple creatures, Trell explained. Before coming to Earth, we never imagined forming partnerships with other species. Joe nodded toward a special section of the zoo where human and alien children played together with puppies and kittens. It was part of a new cultural exchange program. That's the real success story, he said. The next generation learning from each other. Trell made a sound that Joe had come to recognize as agreement. The Union has much to learn from Earth about cooperation between species. It's changing our entire philosophy. They walked to a memorial that had been built to honor the animals that had served during the war. Names of dogs, cats, dolphins, and other creatures were engraved on a stone wall. At the base, a simple message read, They fought not because they understood war, but because they understood loyalty. General Cross never understood, Trell said quietly. He saw your use of animals as primitive. He didn't realize it demonstrated your greatest strength. Which is? Joe asked. Your ability to form bonds with other species, to communicate across boundaries that we thought were absolute. It's, humbling. A small brown dog approached them, wagging its tail. Joe knelt to pet it. This is Max, he told Trell. He was one of our first animal operatives in New York. Trell carefully extended one of his 4 hands. Max sniffed it, then allowed the alien to gently stroke his fur. I've been meaning to ask, Joe said as they continued walking. That day on your flagship with the mice, how did you avoid being affected by the sound devices? Trell's breathing holes fluttered, the alien equivalent of a smile. Professor Reed isn't the only one who can conduct research. I'd been studying the effects of those frequencies since we detected the first use of your new weapon. I developed protection for myself, and conveniently didn't share it with General Cross, Joe observed. An unfortunate oversight, Trell replied, his tone making it clear it had been anything but. They reached a new building at the edge of the park, the Interspecies Research Center. Inside, human and alien scientists worked together studying animal cognition. Professor Reed met them at the entrance. Our latest results are fascinating, he told them excitedly. We've discovered that dolphin communication patterns share similarities with both human language and stellar union, pulsed speech. They might be able to learn to communicate with both species. Trell's eyes widened in surprise. A third intelligent species? Maybe more, Alex said. Elephants, certain apes, some birds. They all show complex thought patterns. We're just beginning to understand. As they toured the facility, they passed a room where several aliens were working with dogs and cats. The animals were being trained to help aliens with disabilities navigate Earth's environments. Service animals for aliens, Joe remarked. That's something I never imagined. Nor did we, Trell said. But they're remarkably effective. The animals seem to adapt to our different biology with ease. In another lab, human and alien engineers were developing new technologies based on animal senses. Navigation systems inspired by bat echolocation, underwater sensors modeled on dolphin sonar. This is what should have happened from the beginning, Alex said. Cooperation instead of conquest. Trell nodded solemnly. The High Command has learned an important lesson. Not all valuable resources are minerals or strategic positions. Knowledge and diversity have their own worth. As they finished their tour, they stood on a balcony overlooking the park. Children played, dogs ran, and birds flew overhead. Aliens walked among humans, no longer as conquerors but as visitors and partners. We thought Earth's animals were just cute curiosities, Trell said reflectively. We never imagined they could be your greatest allies and teachers. Joe smiled. That's the thing about Earth. We've never been alone here. We've always shared our world with other species. Maybe that's why we value freedom so much. We know what it means to respect other forms of life. A falcon swooped down and landed on a perch near them. It had been one of the birds that carried sound devices during the war. Now it wore a small camera, helping scientists monitor the park's environment. From weapons of war to instruments of peace, Alex observed. Like us all, Joe replied, watching as human and alien children laughed together while puppies tumbled around their feet. On the path below, an alien child carefully offered a treat to a rabbit. The small animal hopped forward, sniffed the strange blue hand, then took the food. The alien child made a sound of pure delight. That, said Trell, pointing to the simple interaction, is the future of our species. Learning to share the universe, not conquer it. As the sun set over the rebuilt city, the lights of human and alien vessels twinkled in the sky above. Earth was no longer alone in the cosmos, and its animals, once just curiosities to alien eyes, had become ambassadors to the stars. The military dogs moved silently through the ruins of New York City. They were trained to avoid detection, slipping between shadows as they approached Central Park. Each dog carried a small device in its collar that would emit the high-frequency sound that affected alien nervous systems. Colonel Joe Miller watched through night vision binoculars as the dogs entered the park. The Stellar Union had turned the once beautiful area into a military base, with landing pads for small ships and temporary buildings for their troops. Dogs are in position, whispered Major Tom Green, who was monitoring the animals through tracking devices. Joe nodded. Signal the handlers to activate the sound devices. Tom pressed a button on his wrist computer. In the park, the devices on the dogs' collars began emitting a sound too high for humans to hear. But the effect on the aliens was immediate and dramatic. Through his binoculars, Joe saw the blue-skinned soldiers suddenly freeze, then collapse, to the ground. Their forearms twitched helplessly, and their breathing holes flared wide. It's working, Joe said, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. Move in now. Human soldiers rushed forward, taking advantage of the temporary paralysis affecting the aliens. They secured the command center within minutes, capturing valuable equipment and data. Call the dogs back, Joe ordered, and the handlers whistled for their animals to return. All 20 dogs came bounding back, tails wagging as if they had just played a game rather than helped turn the tide of an alien invasion. Joe knelt to pet one of the German shepherds. Good job, Max, he said softly. Humanity owes you a lot of treats. The success in New York was repeated in other cities around the world. In London, trained falcons carried tiny sound devices into alien strongholds. In Tokyo, cats that the aliens had adopted as pets suddenly activated hidden technology in their collars. In Sydney, even the dolphins in the harbor played a role, carrying underwater sound emitters near alien submarines. For the first time since the war began, humanity was winning battles. In his flagship orbiting Earth, General Cross received the reports with growing fury. "How is this possible?" he demanded, throwing a datapad across the bridge. "How can the humans be defeating our advanced forces?" His tactical officer, a younger alien named Vex, spoke carefully. "We're still analyzing their new weapon, sir. It seems to be some kind of sound-based technology that affects our nervous systems." "And how are they deploying it?" Cross asked. "Our sensors detect no new human weapons." Vex hesitated. "It appears they're using animals, sir." "Animals?" Cross repeated, his four eyes blinking rapidly in disbelief. "Yes, General. The Earth creatures we've been studying. Dogs, cats, birds. They're carrying small devices that emit the frequency that affects us." Cross stared at the tactical display, showing areas where his forces had been defeated. "They're using pets as weapons. This is barbaric." Ambassador Trell, who had been standing quietly at the back of the bridge, stepped forward. "Not barbaric, General. Ingenious. They're using our own fascination against us." Cross turned to Trell with anger. You encourage this fascination with Earth wildlife. This is your fault." "I studied what I was ordered to study," Trell replied calmly. "But I also warned that humans have a special relationship with their animals. It's a partnership that goes back thousands of years in their history. We just never imagined they would use it in warfare." Cross slammed his fist on the console. "Issue new orders to all forces. Any Earth animal is now considered a potential weapon. They are to be eliminated on sight." Trell's breathing holes flared in shock. "You can't do that." "I can and I will," Cross replied coldly. "This is war, Ambassador. Your sentimentality about Earth's furry creatures has no place here." Back on Earth, Professor Alex Reed worked, in his laboratory, analyzing data from the field operations. "The devices are even more effective than we hoped," he told Joe during a video call. "The aliens are completely incapacitated for about 30 seconds, which is enough time for our troops to secure positions." "We need more," Joe replied, "and we need to expand the program." "What about other animals?" Alex nodded. "We're working with everything from rats to ravens now. The small animals are particularly useful. The aliens don't see them as threats." An alarm sounded in the background of Joe's video feed. His head turned sharply. "What's happening?" Alex asked. "New Stellar Union directive," Joe said grimly, reading from a screen off camera. "They're ordering their troops to kill all Earth. Animals on sight. They've figured out what we're doing." Alex's face fell. "That means all the animals they collected, the pets their officers adopted, will be killed," Joe finished. "But it also means they're scared. Our plan is working." The door to Alex's lab opened, and Admiral Stone walked in. He looked tired, but determined. "Professor Reed, we need to talk about the next phase," Stone said. "We're preparing to retake the moon colony, and we'll need special adaptations for the animals in a low-gravity vacuum environment." Alex raised his eyebrows. "You want to send animals to the moon?" "Not just any animals," Stone replied. "We've been working with NASA's research chimpanzees. They're intelligent enough to operate more complex devices, and with special suits, they can survive in the lunar environment." Joe's voice came through the video link. "Chimps in spacesuits carrying sonic weapons? If someone told me this was our battle plan a month ago, I'd have thought they were crazy." Stone's face remained serious. "Desperate times, Colonel. The chimps have already been trained for space missions. They know how to follow specific instructions." Alex shook his head in wonder. "I'll start designing lunar-adapted sound devices immediately." The war continued to shift in Earth's favor. As more animals were deployed with the sound devices, Stellar Union forces found themselves constantly ambushed by creatures they had once found fascinating. In a forest outside Berlin, Commander Lark of the Stellar Union ground forces was leading a patrol when they spotted a family of deer. "Remember the new orders," he told his troops. "All Earth animals are potential threats." His soldiers raised their weapons, but before they could fire, ravens swooped down from the trees. Each bird carried a tiny sound device. The high-frequency noise hit the aliens like a physical blow, dropping them to their knees. From the trees emerged human resistance fighters, quickly capturing the paralyzed aliens. Similar scenes played out worldwide. Rabbits carried devices into alien camps. Trained mice infiltrated alien ships docked on Earth. In coastal areas, sea creatures joined the fight, with otters and seals carrying waterproof sound emitters near alien underwater bases. The Stellar Union forces, which had expected an easy victory against Earth's inferior technology, found themselves constantly outmaneuvered by the planet's wildlife. On his flagship, General Cross watched with growing alarm as more reports of defeats came in. "This is impossible," he muttered. "Defeated by animals?" Vex approached cautiously. "Sir, our forces are requesting permission to withdraw from Earth's surface. The animal attacks are making ground operations unsustainable." Cross's four eyes narrowed dangerously. "Withdraw? The mighty Stellar Union does not retreat from primitives, especially not because of their pets." "With respect, General," Vex said carefully, "these aren't just pets anymore. The humans have turned practically their entire ecosystem into a weapon system." Before Cross could respond, alarms blared through the ship. "What now?" he demanded. "Breach in lower deck 3, reported a security officer. "Something small has entered through the ventilation system." On the security screens, Cross watched in disbelief as dozens of small creatures, Earth mice, scurried through his ship's corridors. Each carried a tiny blinking device. "No," Cross whispered, realization dawning too late. "Evacuate the bridge. Now." But the high-frequency sound was already filling the ship, and one by one Cross and his officers collapsed, their nervous systems temporarily shut down by the simple but effective human weapon. Ambassador Trell, who had been wearing special ear protection developed in secret with human scientists, remained standing. He walked to the communication console and sent a message to Earth. "Humans of Earth, this is Ambassador Trell. I wish to discuss terms for the Stellar Union's surrender." 3 days after Ambassador Trell's message, a historic meeting took place on a neutral space station orbiting Earth. Colonel Joe Miller and Admiral Stone represented Earth's military. Professor Alex Reed joined as a scientific advisor. They sat on one side of a long table. On the other side sat Ambassador Trell and 3 other Stellar Union representatives. General Cross was noticeably absent. "Where is the general?" Admiral Stone asked as the meeting began. "General Cross has been relieved of his command," Trell said carefully. "The High Command was not pleased with his handling of the Earth campaign." Joe leaned forward. "You mean they didn't like that he lost?" Trell's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "The Stellar Union does not lose wars, Colonel Miller. But in this case we are willing to acknowledge that continuing the conflict would not be beneficial for either side." Admiral Stone placed a datapad on the table. "These are our terms. The Stellar Union will remove all military forces from Earth and our colonies. You will pay compensation for the damage done to Mars and the Moon, and you will recognize Earth as a fully independent territory, not subject to Union control." Trell and the other aliens examined the terms. After a quick discussion in their own language, Trell nodded. "These terms are acceptable, with one addition from our side," he said. "We request permission to continue scientific and cultural exchanges, particularly regarding Earth's animals." Joe laughed without humor. "You still want to study our animals, after you tried to kill them all?" "That was General Cross's order, not the policy of the Union leadership," Trell replied. "Many of us opposed it. Your world's biodiversity is unique. In all our explorations, we still have much to learn from it." Professor Reed, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "You mean you want to learn how to defend against our animal tactics if there's another war?" Trell's breathing holes flared slightly, a sign of discomfort. "I cannot deny that our military will study your methods, but my interest, and that of our scientific community, is genuine. Your relationship with your animals is unlike anything we've seen in the galaxy." Admiral Stone looked at Joe and Alex, silently asking their opinion. "Controlled exchanges only," Joe said firmly. "With full monitoring. And no animals leave Earth without our approval." Alex nodded in agreement. "One more condition," Admiral Stone added. "Full disclosure about the wormhole junctions near Earth We know that's why you really came here. Trell seemed surprised but recovered quickly. Agreed. We will share all navigational data and grant Earth ships passage rights. The peace treaty was signed the following day. After 2 months of bloody war, peace had returned, thanks largely to Earth's animals. 1 year later, Colonel Joe Miller, now General Miller, stood in the rebuilt Central Park Zoo. Beside him stood Ambassador Trell, who had remained on Earth as the Stellar Union's permanent envoy. They watched as a group of alien scientists carefully observed a dolphin show. The dolphins were demonstrating their intelligence by solving complex puzzles. They still can't believe how smart they are, Joe commented. On our homeworld, animals are simple creatures, Trell explained. Before coming to Earth, we never imagined forming partnerships with other species. Joe nodded toward a special section of the zoo, where human and alien children played together with puppies and kittens. It was part of a new cultural exchange program. That's the real success story, he said. The next generation learning from each other. Trell made a sound that Joe had come to recognize as agreement. The Union has much to learn from Earth about cooperation between species. It's changing our entire philosophy. They walked to a memorial that had been built to honor the animals that had served during the war. Names of dogs, cats, dolphins, and other creatures were engraved on a stone wall. At the base, a simple message read, "They fought not because they understood war, but because they understood loyalty." General Cross never understood, Trell said quietly. He saw your use of animals as primitive. He didn't realize it demonstrated your greatest strength. Which is? Joe asked. Your ability to form bonds with other species, to communicate across boundaries that we thought were absolute. It's humbling. A small brown dog approached them, wagging its tail. Joe knelt to pet it. This is Max, he told Trell. He was one of our first animal operatives in New York. Trell carefully extended one of his 4 hands. Max sniffed it, then allowed the alien to gently stroke his fur. I've been meaning to ask, Joe said as they continued walking. That day on your flagship with the mice, how did you avoid being affected? By the sound devices? Trell's breathing holes fluttered. The alien equivalent of a smile. Professor Reed isn't the only one who can conduct research. I'd been studying the effects of those frequencies since we detected the first use of your new weapon. I developed protection for myself, and conveniently didn't share it with General Cross, Joe observed. An unfortunate oversight, Trell replied, his tone making it clear it had been anything but. They reached a new building at the edge of the park, the Interspecies Research Center. Inside, human and alien scientists worked together studying animal cognition. Professor Reed met them at the entrance. Our latest results are fascinating, he told them excitedly. We've discovered that dolphin communication patterns share similarities with both human language and Stellar Union pulsed speech. They might be able to learn to communicate with both species. Trell's eyes widened in surprise. A third intelligent species? Maybe more, Alex said. Elephants, certain apes, some birds. They all show complex thought patterns. We're just beginning to understand. As they toured the facility, they passed a room where several aliens were working with dogs and cats. The animals were being trained to help aliens with disabilities navigate Earth's environments. Service animals for aliens, Joe remarked. That's something I never imagined. Nor did we, Trell said. But they're remarkably effective. The animals seem to adapt to our different biology with ease. In another lab, human and alien engineers were developing new technologies based on animal senses, navigation systems inspired by bat echolocation, underwater sensors modeled on dolphin sonar. This is what should have happened from the beginning, Alex said. Cooperation instead of conquest. Trell nodded solemnly. The High Command has learned an important lesson. Not all valuable resources are minerals or strategic positions. Knowledge and diversity have their own worth. As they finished their tour, they stood on a balcony overlooking the park. Children played, dogs ran, and birds flew overhead. Aliens walked among humans, no longer as conquerors but as visitors and partners. We thought Earth's animals were just cute curiosities, Trell said reflectively. We never imagined they could be your greatest allies and teachers. Joe smiled. That's the thing about Earth. We've never been alone here. We've always shared our world with other species. Maybe that's why we value freedom so much. We know what it means to respect other forms of life. A falcon swooped down and landed on a perch near them. It had been one of the birds that carried sound devices during the war. Now it wore a small camera, helping scientists monitor the park's environment. From weapons of war to instruments of peace, Alex observed. Like us all, Joe replied, watching as human and alien children laughed together while puppies tumbled around their feet. On the path below, an alien child carefully offered a treat to a rabbit. The small animal hopped forward, sniffed the strange blue hand, then took the food. The alien child made a sound of pure delight. That, said Trell, pointing to the simple interaction, is the future of our species. Learning to share the universe, not conquer it. As the sun set over the rebuilt city, the lights of human and alien vessels twinkled in the sky above. Earth was no longer alone in the cosmos, and its animals, once just curiosities to alien eyes, had become ambassadors to the stars.